Welcome to the Good Rookies podcast. My name is Faheem.
And my name is Nelly J, y'all. And we are Good Rookies.
That's right.
What's going on, everybody? Happy Good Tuesday. And guess what? It's episode 90.
90,
y'all. Faheem, 90, bro. What?
90 straight weeks.
90 straight weeks. So, y'all, as you know, we always bring you the hottest guests on the podcast today. And tonight, there's no difference. We have an amazing guest coming back. Faheem, please introduce who we got.
That's right. He's coming back like he never left since episode 12. He's definitely an OG. Like, that's when we're little pups in this. And I feel we got enough under our belt. But he's someone who has kept up with us and we've kept up with him, vice versa. And we got something in store tonight. Let's welcome Aaron Manswell to the podcast today.
Aaron.
What's good?
Aaron.
I'm so proud of you guys, man. The growth is exponential. I love it.
Nice.
Bruh, like you saw us when we were actual pups, like episode 12, we're new in the game. Now you're back for 90, Aaron. Oh my, so much has changed since like episode 12.
Well, my question is, what are you guys gonna do for the 100th episode? Like, is there like a big celebration? What's planned?
I don't even know. Listen, we'll be outside, right? We outside. Who knows, man? Who knows? We might do something special still. Maybe go to maybe do something at one of the CBL. I don't know. We gotta figure it out though. We gotta do a live show, something. Yeah, we gotta do something out, but I love it.
I like that.
I love it, man. Mm-hmm.
Well, we're gonna highlight you more for the culture, but Aaron, you know, you had to sit through this this transition year as a Raptor fan, right? And thank you for sure for coming through Raptor Spaces. You've been there from day one. You've seen the growth there as well. So, and Clubhouse too. So, what's your thoughts on the transition year for the Raptors? This is pretty much last year was more of we weren't in Toronto, so I think it was our first year without Kyle Lowry. What's your thoughts on looking back on this in the season?
Man, you know what? I think I'm going to start off with the expectations that I had for the season. The expectations that I had for this season, and you can actually go back on my Twitter feed and check it out. I said we'd finish 6th in the East, and I know that's a lot higher than a lot of people had them. But the main reason was because I saw that we had OG, I saw that we had Pascal, and I saw that we had Fred. And to me, the core of those three, with the kind of experience that they had playing together, I said we're the 6th best team in this conference. You know, everyone was saying, "Oh, Chicago, you know, they got all these all-stars. You know, Boston kept their talent. Who else? Philly. This is before, you know, James Harden came through. You know, all these other guys were better than us, but I thought that with the addition, of course, of Scotty Barnes and everything like that, I thought that we would definitely be at least amongst the top 6. 5th place, I didn't see coming. To me, we overachieved, and I do think that we're in an amazing spot going forward. I did see someone like, I think it was Barkley, said something like, we're kind of in a no man's land space or something like that. And I said, this guy's crazy. Like, mind you, he's someone I respect as far as following the city of Toronto, and, you know, he shows a lot of love to Toronto, but that take kind of threw me off. But I do think that we are in an amazing position. I'll leave it there for now.
I love it. Yeah, I mean, I think we're similar because I had us landing in 6th as well. Like, I had us in the 6th seed. Only because I did have at the time, well, before season started, I did have Chicago above us. However, I felt that we would surpass the Pacers, the Knicks, and Atlanta. That's why I had us in the top 6. So
I had
how about you, Faheem?
Yeah, I had us like 6, 7, somewhere around there. Same deal. We definitely did overachieve. We made big strides with Scotty Barnes, especially early out. Yeah. So I guess we got to be happy, definitely for the future. What Barkley was saying about us being in a no man's land, I don't know about that. I do think that having Scotty Barnes over the next few years I think there's going to be a ton of growth there, and maybe doing something that we haven't had as a franchise is really getting a top 15 player. Outside of Vince and Kawhi, we really haven't had that kind of talent. So I think our future is definitely bright. Precious, like the list goes on. This is just a great team, and we have a lot of options also. So if Masai needs to make a trade to get something better, we're positioned nicely. So,
and to add to what you said, and Aaron said, I think I'm at a place where we're having Scotty Barnes and doing what we did with our young talent. I think we might get some people willing to come here.
mm-hmm.
I don't know about you guys, but I just think that we struggle. I don't think, we're not going to get no Harden caliber type player, but I do think that on the market, our franchise is looking quite quite like appeasing. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Even though, and of course, the country and all this stuff is a barrier, but Earth, like the world's getting smaller. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, I don't know. I think we might get some players coming here that wants to play in Toronto, and I have to beg them to come. You know what I mean? Like in the past. So I don't know. I feel like we might be seeing a change in the guards here for free agency. I'm hoping you see that in the offseason.
Yeah, no, I fully agree. And Scotty Barnes kind of strikes me as that, like, that LeBron type player, meaning like in terms of the relationships he has around the league. It's funny, every rookie player that came from his class, it's like he's all like boys with them, like he's been boys with them for all these years and stuff. And that has me thinking, maybe 3 years down the road, let's say Cade gets upset in Detroit, or Evan Mobley, things don't work out with him, or they don't build properly around him in Cleveland, or even Jalen Green, he gets tired of losing in Houston. Let's say he's looking to come in and win in Toronto, right? Like, we already have that reputation in the league. We already have that type of San Antonio East type of thing. So it's like, and I do think more players, like you said, Nelly J, I do think more players are starting to respect the city a bit more, just for what it is. Like that whole thing about Toronto's cold and Toronto's this, that, like, that's a thing, fine, but players want to win first. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about it. Shout out Cash. Let's talk about it.
So let me throw out a question. There's been like a coaching carousel happening. We're on the off season now, as we know. Nick Nurse, he's been in a lot of talk of possibly with the Lakers. We don't know where these stories come from. As he said, also Masai addressed it at the end of season press conference, and talked about how he dreams of Messi and Ronaldo.
So do I. I want them on our team somehow.
Right. So with that being, and even going in, we knew, we felt very confident that there was nothing behind it. But now is a time where there's a lot of teams that may have underachieved, and coaches are possibly going to be moved. So I just want to go over some coaches and kind of see where your head's at in regards to if you think they're going to go and what thoughts you have on them. All right. Let's start first with Brooklyn. They're the biggest disappointment, I'd say, because they got swept. They might have some you might have some things behind that. But Steve Nash, this is 2 straight years of pretty much early exits in the playoffs. Just real quick, Aaron, what you got in regards to Steve Nash, him staying, going? Just give him a grade.
I think Steve Nash stays. I don't think that he's been given a fair card in regard to last year. Last year, what happened with him? He had 3 of the most amazing scores ever, sure, but two of them were injury prone. And he didn't get to see Harden. Harden got injured, in that second round, and Kyrie wasn't playing last year, right? If I'm correct.
He played the first round against Boston, and then he got injured
right.
game 2 or game 3 against Milwaukee.
Right. So, right. So, and then of course you would say this year would be the year that people would judge him based off of, but then he had Kyrie for half the year. So it's like, then James Harden left. So it's like, I don't really know. I mean, people are saying tactically he's not the greatest coach. Fine, but I just don't think that he's been given a fair enough chance yet. I say one more year for him, one more year to see what he can do with just KD and Kyrie, and Kyrie for a full season too. Yeah, that's my take on him.
Nelly J?
Yeah, great question for him. Guys, when we saw that Kyrie couldn't play for more than half the season, we should have just packed Brooklyn up then. And I get it, right? I think fans are so listen, guys, I love KD. I think Kyrie's a great player, but there's only so much. Like, they're not Superman, they're not Iron Man, they're not Thor. This isn't the Marvel comic books. They're not gonna come and beat Thanos. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is not gonna happen in real life. So I just think that the expectations for Brooklyn was too high. You know what I'm saying? Like people thought Raptors would have been an 11th seed, but people thought Brooklyn would be a first seed. And I think people just over expected from them based on Kevin Durant. That's it. I heard people say, we don't need Kyrie. If Kevin Durant's on the court, we would sweep the Raptors. You know what I'm saying? Like, craziness, absolute like madness. So I think Steve Nash had to deal with all of those expectations. Number one, to Aaron's point, yes, I do think he deserves another year, but I also think that you put any other coach with experience, like give them Nick Nurse on Brooklyn this season. I think they're going to push Boston to at least 6-7 games. Are they going to win? Probably not. But I think they're not going to get swept. I just think that Steve Nash has never coached before. He has no experience. And when you hire someone who has never been a head coach in college, at any other level, and their first coaching job is in the NBA, coaching the top talent in the league, this is what happens. So I just think that, am I surprised for him? No. He's supposed to be bad. Like, I think I'll be bad at a job myself if I started this job 2 years, like, for the first time. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think he's supposed to be bad. He's supposed to be like, I saw Steve Nash closing on a game with Patty Mills, Goran Dragic, and Kyrie on the court. And I said, what are we talking about, guys? You know what I'm saying? Like, this is what someone that has no experience. I mean, keep in mind, Udoka coached with him last year. Keep in mind, he had D'Antoni with him last year. Those guys are no longer with him. So he had other great coaches as coaching along with him, giving him the wealth of knowledge. And this season, he didn't have that. His coaches weren't as great. And we see Udoka, how great he is as a coach. So I just think that head coach's job is to manage the team, but I think assistant coaches, they're really important. And that's why they're undervalued or not looked at as much as the head coaches, but they're very important. So I think Steve Nash will get one more year. Hopefully he hires some better coaching staff. But I do think not having Kyrie there and Ben Simmons, I mean, what can Katie do? You know what I'm saying? So it is what it is.
Aaron, I'm gonna give you a chance to punch in. I know that she had a lot there to unpack, and I think you have some. Do you want to reply to something real quick before I give mine? Go ahead. I'll let you punch in. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that's one thing that I forgot about was Joe Harris. You know, he's to me, as much as we love KD, Kyrie, and Ben Simmons, like, he's a big piece as far as what Steve Nash, or the way Steve Nash coaches, as far as, like, you know, the spreading of the system and everything like that too. But then I also wanted to say, just watching that Boston and Brooklyn series, KD, he didn't look like himself, health wise. You know, I
agree.
I was watching his lift, the fact that, you know, yes, Jason Tatum did grow a few inches over the past few years, but the ease he was blocking his shots with is not normal in terms of the jump shot, how high KD gets on his jump shot. And so, you know, those things for me, like, you can't hold Steve Nash accountable for all of that. Faheem, you can jump in.
Okay, no, so I do think that with coaching, it's a lot about adjustments. And with Steve Nash, I just gotta let me ask this real quick. Say, for instance, I hear with Joe Harris, I hear no Ben Simmons, you know, like, he was dealing with a depleted roster. I understand that, right? I do think, though, it's a coach. I like saying it's about adjustments. Say you were to have, I'm just going to throw a coach off the top of my head. Say Nick Nurse, very respected coach. With Nick Nurse, with that same squad that's depleted, do you think that they would have got swept? That's for you, Aaron.
I don't think they would have gotten swept.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So to ask that, so that's what I'm saying. Like, certain coaches have certain things in their bag in regards to, like adjustments and things. And I just don't know if Steve Nash, we have to admit, he was a celebrity hire. That's just the facts. He hasn't really had any experience as a GM for Team Canada, yes. But I mean, in regards to a bench boss, just because for instance, Phil Jackson is great behind the bench, but as a GM, it didn't really translate, right? So I do think that with Steve Nash, as a coach, especially coming in with this situation where he had a ton of talent, I'm not expecting him with a depleted roster to make the finals. What I am expecting him to do is at least be able to steal a game at home, and actually show something from a coaching standpoint of his value. I don't see it. And it happened last year also. This is supposed to be his year to actually get over that hump and prove people wrong. So, I mean, we'll see where this goes going forward. But I do think that Steve Nash will stay another year because he's Steve Nash, and his rope's going to be a little bit longer.
Mm-hmm. But it's a great point you made, because Faheem, I'm curious, right? You made a statement about you felt that they didn't. I don't know. I feel like, I don't know if Steve Nash has it still. Like, I feel like in that moment, you're supposed to be able to rally your team to at least like have pride. You know what I'm saying? Like, have an identity. I think it's crazy that Brooklyn still has no identity yet with Steve Nash as a coach, right? So to your point, Faheem, as a coach, yes, you can't, like, Boston's a great team, but you should be able to steal one game. And there were moments where it was close. They were leading and they just couldn't close it out. So I just don't know if Steve Nash has it. And again, the head coach, sometimes the most powerful coach isn't the head coach, it's the assistant coaches. And so not having Udoka, not having D'Antoni, who are seasoned coaching for years, I just think that Steve Nash just may not have that impact anymore. And we all have our thoughts about Doc, but at least Philly has that, where if they want to defend, they defend Doc Rivers, they want to win for him. I don't know if Steve Nash has that energy. I don't know.
Aaron, you got it.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say that that if they were gonna steal a game, it was game one, right? Do you remember how they lost game one on that Tatum layup?
Yeah,
right?
Crazy.
So yeah, like that's one of the wildest finishes I've ever seen. But I will say that to me, that loss really is not Steve Nash. I think just as that assignment was actually KD's blown assignment. If you look back at the replay, and to me, it's like, KD, you got to know what to do defensively there. I guess team defensively.
Agreed.
More than it is on Steve Nash.
And to your point, that reminds me of Steph Curry when he kind of stopped Ja Morant's layup in game one of their series, right? And Steph stepped up as a defender. So you're right. Like, I don't think you can blame Steve Nash for the entire series, but as a coach, Faheem's point, you got to make adjustments. You have to make your players believe that they can actually win it. In game four, y'all, I'm like, Brooklyn, they're not into it. Mentally, they weren't there. And that, to me, is a coaching issue. I'm sorry.
I got 3 other coaches. Let's make it quick and just say, yes, he's coming back. No, he's not coming back.
Cool.
Okay. Atlanta, Nate McMillan. They last year had a good run. This year, not so much. He, much like Steve Nash, can use injuries and just not being a healthy squad, also kind of inconsistent. Apparently he's not the people are wearing thin on him in Atlanta. Aaron, do you think he comes back? Nate McMillan.
I think you give him one more year, but there is like an amazing crop of coaches, free agent coaches. And it's not like Atlanta was amazing this year where they can just say, oh, well, we love what Nate did. If they keep him, it's based off of last year. It's not based off of this year. And there's a bunch of coaches you could try out. Like, like there's Adrian, what's his name from here in Toronto?
Griffin. No, Griffin. Actually, he's not a free agent, but people have to ask Masai to talk to him. He's not a free agent. That's all.
Okay, right. Okay, yeah. But so I've seen his name just all over the place over the past
because the Lakers the Lakers called Masai and asked him if they can talk to Adrian, and Masai granted it. Yeah, Masai granted it.
Right. And then there's like the Mark Jacksons. There's the D'Antoni. I still don't know why his name is being thrown out. I think he's trash. Who else? What I'm saying is there's so many options out there for them to want to hold on to. Yeah.
Nate McMillan, you get the deuces.
Really? Wow.
Yo, you enough, Chris Brown. Listen, yeah, he's out. And not because I just think that for Atlanta, just hearing the Atlanta fan base and how they responded to Nate, it's not me, like me looking outside in, like I have my opinion. I think Nate should get another year, only because I feel like he dealt with a lot of injuries. His GM did some weird trades. Like, I don't know what's going on, but they have something that could work there. But I just think the way the fan bases were blaming him for their obvious loss, because I don't know why people think the Hawks were going to be a final team this season. I just think that he might get the boot. He might get it.
Okay. And I'm going to go with, I think they should give him another year. I think he's a good coach. But we'll see. Another one, Vogel. He's out, right? In LA?
Yep. He's been fired. Yep.
Okay.
That's
so
the most controversial coach of the year.
Right. So just give me a name. If you're the Lakers, you're Jeannie Buss or Kurt Rambis. Who are you putting in LA to quote or coach? I put coach in air quotes, LeBron.
I'm hiring whoever LeBron wants, because once that person fails, I can blame him. That's me. If I'm Jeannie, I'm straight good. Because if I pick a coach and they don't like him, they blame me as Jeannie Buss. So if I'm Jeannie Buss, LeBron, who do you want as a coach? Okay. So then once he fails in that realm, he can't blame me or anyone else. But then as a GM, do you put that risk again because you went with him for Westbrook? That's tough, man. I don't know.
That's why I'm shaking my head.
like to me, you can't win with LeBron. You just can't win as a GM or the owner. You can't win. Like he brings a lot of money to your team, but Lord, expectations are high for that team that he's on.
So here's what I do find interesting. So we just talked about Brooklyn with their lineup of KD and Kyrie, and now and Nash, he was like I said, a celebrity hire. He came in with zero experience, and they actually went through this whole, we don't have a coach. It's the three of us that are coaching type deal. In LA, find LeBron. He's another person who never, through his career, never really worked with like a Hall of Fame coach. He's always had to groom people and give people opportunities to coach with LeBron. So I do think the next coach of the Lakers is going to be someone who probably was an assistant elsewhere, has no experience, makes it easier for LeBron to
control.
Yeah,
demand, get his way. He was like, I don't want to come off this way, but
yeah.
Faheem, you took LeBron's head and walked him down this path and then pushed him in the back over the cliff. That's exactly what just happened.
Oh man, I couldn't even tell you what needs to happen with LA just based off of what happened this season. I think like one of my best friends, he's a huge LeBron fan. So wherever LeBron goes, he follows them. And
they're called the Lakers. They're called the Laker fans.
I don't even think we deserve to call them anything at this point, because they're borderlining on like Dallas Cowboy fan base levels at this point. For real, they are.
You're not lying.
But it's like, but the Lakers, they need a complete overhaul. Everybody they hire, like let's look at Pelinka. Like Pelinka is not even like he was an agent before he became.
Yeah.
Like I'm not saying that. Like they don't hire people that have pedigree, right? Kurt Rambis is making decisions for you. Like hire people that have done it before, especially if you consider yourself a model franchise. Right now you're running it like the Sacramento Kings. So
Aaron said fire everybody. Wow.
No, fire everybody all over again. Like you can't trust LeBron anymore, especially if LeBron's supposed to be one of the highest IQ players in the league, but you bring Russell Westbrook to your team. That doesn't make
womp.
I don't know, man. They need a whole a complete overhaul. That's all I'm gonna say.
I'm crying. All right, Faheem, who's the last coach we got on deck for today?
Last one we'll go with is In
Utah? That one?
Utah,
Okay.
we'll go
so
to
that's
Quinn
it.
Snyder. Utah, let me just say this real quick. Utah, they're a team that's always knocking on the door during the regular season. People want to kind of believe they're contenders, but just in the postseason, never seem to get it done. Quinn Snyder is somebody who's, he's made a name for himself, like in G League, just kind of a low-key underrated coach. Now he's on the radar. Does Quinn Snyder come back? Now, I'll start with this. Just say this. I don't know if we could blame Quinn Snyder if we're giving Steve Nash that bly. They, from a personnel standpoint in Utah, I think they're kind of a mess. I don't know how Donovan Mitchell and Gobert can play together. I don't know if you guys heard the stat that Donovan Mitchell, he averages 2 passes, not 2 assists, but 2 passes a game to Gobert. As a guard in your center, as a combo, to get 2 passes in a game, that's got to be on coaching. You got to make sure that you are doing the right thing with the personnel. So with Quinn Snyder, good coach, but I think the personnel is not working for him. So I do think he's coming back, but I'll land there. Aaron, what do you got?
For Quinn Snyder, so yeah, if I go extensively talking about Utah, I'd be cheating myself because I don't watch that team. But I do know enough about Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell to know that it's not working, mainly because of, I think, Donovan Mitchell. I've always said that I think the Jazz will go as far as Donovan Mitchell becomes as a player. And I do think that Rudy Gobert, he's kind of like he's not going to be the guy to lead you anywhere. Like he's a great complementary piece. So should Quinn Snyder be judged based off of Donovan Mitchell's talent? Is how I'm viewing it. The answer is no. Do I think that there's somebody in there that can, or somebody else that can come in and bring the Jazz to maybe a conference finals? Sure, but then what's the point in that, right? You're trying to win a championship. So I do think that they just need more talent overall. Does that mean they have to trade Donovan Mitchell? Does that mean they have to, package Rudy Gobert with somebody else? I don't know, but it's not going to get that much better unless they get more talent. Yeah.
Nelly J?
Yeah, so Quinn Snyder actually said he's not coming back. So this is he's coming back. Yeah, he's not going back. It was reported and that's why folks said that he might go to the Lakers, but he said that because of how they've treated Vogel after the season, he wouldn't want to go there either. So he's also going to be a coach that will be available this offseason. So yeah, he's out, but I will say I'm not going to blame Quinn for this season. Like I think you both made all the points I was going to make. Rudy Gobert, David, it wasn't working out. And also you can't have one of the best, I guess, interior defenders and have no perimeter defense. Like none. Like it don't make no sense. Like it's like either you're a defensive team or you're not. And I think the issue with this team is that their identity has always been mixed. No, like no one knows who they are. Are we an offensive mammoth team or are we a defensive mammoth team? And they've been just in the middle. That's why they always do well regular season, but it can never equate to success in the playoffs because it's a battle, right? They don't look at defense the way Rudy does. So Rudy's trying to get defense, make stops, and Mitchell all could about shooting and making it's just their mentality of the team, the identity, the culture. They got none of that, nothing. And that's been their issue. So when they get a coach that can create a culture, an identity, get them all on the same page to understand, hey, you don't play defense, but in the fourth quarter, under 2 minutes, if you don't play defense, David Mitchell, I'm pulling you out the gate. You know what I'm saying? So we need someone like that on Utah, and they don't have that right now. So I won't blame coaching. It's a bit of coaching and personnel mentality. They had good pieces, good moments, but they never had killers. And I will say this. If you want a championship, if you want to win a ring, you need at least 1 or 2 killers on the team. They don't got to be the best players. They're just so determined that they make everyone else around them believe. You know what I'm saying? So they never had that. So sorry, Utah. But Snyder will be out of there. And I'm curious to know where he's going to go. And Faheem, if about the Lakers, I would have wanted him. But Quinn said the way after they traded Vogel, he's like, I want that smoke. So I don't want that smoke.
Nobody would.
So, yep.
All right. So Nelly J, you want to go to For the Culture?
For the culture, we like to highlight individuals for the culture. And today we get to highlight composer, competition winner, okay? Doctoral student, songwriter, music director, producer. Y'all, he does it all. And he can sing, y'all. And he can sing. Let's pick it up for Aaron Manswell.
Oh, wow.
Aaron. Honestly, Aaron, it's so great because, you know, people don't even know that, like, you're such a, like, chill, humble man, but you do so much stuff for the culture in the music world. Like, you've produced pop, like R&B, like for like whatever, for our favorite artists. You've also done things where you've created compositions for sport moments, right? Like the whole quiet shot. And then I saw that you actually won a Canadian wine composition competition with your new work that was inspired by gospel and civil rights. And that composition will be featured or premiered this month, y'all, May 28th, at the concert at St. Peter's Lutheran Church in Kitchener. So, Aaron, talk about your journey from student to composer to singing to now directing music. And of course, how does it feel to win a Canadian-wide competition as one of the top composers in the country? Your thoughts?
Man, that's a lot. I mean, thank you, Nelly J. I didn't even think of myself like this until you put it so eloquently, honestly. But no, I want to say that a lot of it just started, of course, going to church. Myself and Nelly J, we actually go to the same church. So, she probably just saw me when I was younger, just writing a whole bunch of songs, trying to get stuff out as much as possible, creating little groups and stuff, trying to get music out. But yeah, I'd say that's where it started. And then just trying to find a way to express that academically too. And so that's where, the thought of studying music came. But then also finding a way to, because if you decide to pursue music academically, you'll realize that that world is very, it's filled with a lot of classical music, right? And so myself, who didn't grow up in that tradition, it can be kind of tough sometimes when you're realizing that those genres that you grew up with, listening to, like R&B, like gospel music, like jazz, all those other type or styles of music aren't as respected in that space as classical music. And so, that was my whole reason for even wanting to pursue a doctoral degree, which I'm doing right now at U of T. I remember telling them in the interview, like, guys, I love that, it seems like Toronto is a very diverse place, but, U of T, I think would be the perfect place to start accepting, like, more Black styles of music, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And so, while I'm pursuing my doctoral degree, one of my professors, he brings to me a competition, and it's called the Grand Philharmonic Choir, which is a professional choir based in Kitchener. And they hold a competition every year for composers who are age 30 and under. And you pretty much write a song for the choir. And there's a jury of three professors from all around the country. And they decide, just not even based on knowing who the composers are or anything, just looking at the sheet music, which song they think is the best fit for the choir. And yeah, luckily enough, out of a record, I think it was 26 or 27 applications, my song actually won. And so I'm just happy for that, mainly because the style that I wrote the piece in was a combination of gospel music and classical music. Mm-hmm. But it's the gospel music that I grew up on right there at the church that we both grew up, Apple Creek. Just hearing all that stuff growing up and being and having it be respected in that space, to me, is a big deal. So hopefully the choir can really, like, find a way to make it their own and capture the style that I'm trying to push forward within that space, especially within Canada, because Canada needs, to me, more gospel music and more of that sound even if it is within classical music too. So yeah.
Guys, this is I'm like, this is such a, like, you're a trailblazer for Black composers in Canada, bro. Like, absolutely. Like, there needs to be a freaking, what do you call it? Is it a star for him? What do they have on what's it called, on King Street for him? You know them star ting on the street?
Walk
We
of
need
Fame
Aaron
or something, right?
whatever it's called. We need a star ting for Aaron Manswell upon the street down King Street, boy. Like, for real. This is crazy. Like, honestly, I'm so proud of you. Like, I see what you've been doing. You know, I'm always supporting you, picking you up. But this is why you're for the culture, because you're doing things that I think people don't like kind of take for granted, or they notice it, but they don't take time to actually sit and be like, wow, like, he's actually creating a whole new space for Black composers. And you're at U of T, which is the top school in the country as well. So like having a doctorate at that school that's very prestigious in our country, like equivalent to the Harvards of the States, like, it's huge. It's huge. So I mean, that's why you're for the culture. Sorry for him. Go ahead, bro.
No, so Aaron, two-part, just real quick. First is, what's a very layman's term definition of a difference between a composer and a producer?
Man, I'm so happy you asked that question. Because no, for real, man, it's simply because just from what I've researched, being in all these institutions and stuff like that, there really isn't a difference. The only difference is that I feel that, well, let me say this: producers are composers, but composers might not necessarily be producers, right? Producers, when you think of producers, we think of, like, you know, Timbaland, we think of Scott Storch, we think of Swiss Beats, you know, all those legends like that, all those legendary beat makers, right? But then they're also responsible for, you know, making sure that the song itself gets to the point where it needs to be. Like, they're not just making
Kanye
beats.
West. I think Kanye's a great composer.
I don't know why I forgot Kanye, right?
Yeah, he's one of the, I think he's a great one. Yeah.
Right. So but these people are also composing because they're creating the sounds, they're creating the sonics for the record, right? The composer, to me, it's like, it's a very fancy name, and for some reason people only view composers as people that write classical music
and that are white people or white.
Exactly. And so these producers that we all grew up on, these Black producers, need to be called composers if that's the case as well, because they're probably infecting culture way more right now than, say, the Bachs or the Beethovens or the, you know what I mean? So, but at the same time, the reason why you can't call a composer a producer is because actually you
I was
probably
gonna
can
ask you
call
something, because like I thought composers create scores of music. So like they actually, like, I thought composer was the process of creating that music. So a producer's process is like they create it with a different style, whereas a composer, typically they're writing music. It's like I thought composer was more of how the music is created. So you compose the music or you produce it. But to your point, it's pretty much the same functionality, just different terminology as to how you're doing it. Yeah.
It's the same thing. And for some reason, people, at least from what I've seen, they have like a certain level of respect for composers more than producers. And I think that's wrong. I do think that those who make beats and are in charge of putting out pop records should be respected as much as those who are writing sheet music. It's just two different languages of putting out music.
Bingo. And I think that's why the languages, styles of language, is why they're called composers or they're called producers. But I also think it's a form of making, because there's been a lot of great Black composers, but they've always been labeled as producers. So I'm wondering if it's a form to always make them feel inferior to the composition, right, of other. Because remember, like, I don't think a composer of classical music wants to be called the same thing as Timbaland or Pharrell. You know what I'm saying? So it could be a form. No, I agree, but it could be a form of just like mental like blockage of, well, we don't do hip hop, but hip hop is music. So you know what I'm saying? It's like a very old school mentality.
A lot of this music terminology is very racially based.
Undertones. Yes, I agree.
Very racially based.
Great question.
Producers are composers. I'd say that. Yeah.
And last part is, what is it, you being a young urban Black male in the realm of like composition, what is there some experience, like you create your music off of your experience of what you've been through. So I'm just wondering, is there anything in being a Black male that you can, in through music, be different, or like would be different than, say, for instance, somebody who's maybe white from a completely different background? They'll go off their experience. You know what I'm saying? I guess my question is there anything of the Black experience that you can actually put into music that would actually like you understand, like,
Yeah, no, I fully understand. I fully understand what you're saying. So just even going back to growing up in church, and mind you, a lot of people grow up in church, right? But they don't grow up in the Black church. The Black church teaches you something that you can't really, like, you can learn it through just being in it a lot, but just the fact that we grew up in it, and it kind of becomes a big part of us. It's improvisation. Improvisation is something that I don't know if the Black church knows how important it is in terms of music making, right? And improvisation means, okay, you're on the piano. Like, for instance, I grew up on the piano playing, and then all of a sudden this other person wants to go and sing in a completely different key that I'm playing in. All of a sudden you got to find that key that person's playing in, right? So that teaches you on the spot music making, right? Then this person wants to go and like they send you the song to learn for the week. You learn the song, and all of a sudden they break off into a new song, and you got to figure out what song they're in and what key they're playing as well. And they want to change up how they sing the melody of the song too as well. So those different things that you learn within the Black church are so useful in terms of making or writing music, that you don't even realize it until you actually do it, because you realize that the counterparts that you grew up or that you're in school with, or even just making music with, they don't have those skills because they didn't grow up in that environment. Right?
So Aaron, are you saying that Black people, we just so extra that we just can't we can't stay in the key, we're never gonna stay on the beat, like we just so extra that you got to be like, God, there she goes, oh, there she goes again. Like, okay, Aaron, I hear you, Aaron. God damn it.
you know what? Listen, Black people, listen, we're so interesting, but I tell you, and another thing to answer your question, Faheem, too, like, there's a certain soul that comes with the Black experience that you just can't explain. And I don't want to get into logistics, but it's a certain soul that I think we are prone to in terms of hearing with the music. That I can hear a certain song and just be like, that person that wrote that song might be Black, just because of.
Oh my, Aaron, you're speaking true, because there's a skit by Jamie Foxx in a Foxhole. Great stand-up, by the way. He talks about I'm laughing, sorry. Okay. So Jamie Foxx talks about how Black people and people that aren't Black were just programmed differently. So like he had like the heartbeat of a white guy, like do, just like how their heart beats, and how if you're Black, it's like do. It's like we just have our own. So he's talking about how like our beats or our soul, like the beat to our soul is a different rhythm. And
right.
There's nothing like you can try to mimic, watch TikTok, copy stuff, but that internal beat of your soul in Black people, in our culture, just around the world, it's so different from everyone else. And to your point, it's true. Like you just can't, like, there's a saying where I can copy you, but I can't be you, right? I can't be you. I can copy or try to be you, but no one would ever replace Aaron or Faheem, right? So I just think that's important for, a white kid growing up in Waterloo is not going to have the same experience as a Black kid who immigrated here with his family to a new country and had to, what I'm saying? It's like two different experiences, to your point, Faheem. So I just think that no matter how much music you listen to of the Black experience, you can never be that. You know what I'm saying? That's all.
Yes, and sorry to elaborate on your point, Nelly J, too. You were elaborating on something, saying like there's like a certain rhythm that we always put to stuff, right? And that comes from our roots, like that comes from our African roots, right? You listen to the first or early African music, it's all very rhythmic, like
Mhm.
drum based. There's always a beat and a tempo to it. And I used to find myself even listening to like when the little classical music that I listened to when I was growing up, I was always trying to put a beat to it, right? It was never just like the violins and the brass going off. I was hearing all types of drums and stuff like that. I won't get into all of it, but it's in our blood to form rhythms with everything. So yeah.
Right. And that's why with my question, that's why maybe I was kind of struggling to get out, but that's kind of the lane I was going down, because I do recognize that your experience is going to be different than someone else's experience. And especially in composition where there's not a lot of Black people, I would just assume that you're bringing something different to the table. So, I mean,
Sure.
you did an excellent job of explaining the difference that you are bringing to the table. So that's why you're for the culture, man.
For the
Thank you so much.
culture. Bam, bam, bam. Y'all, we're gonna have all of Aaron's information, his compositions. Like, he's always providing updates to artists he's working with, the songs he's working on. So please make sure you follow him, support, like, and buy his music, or support his artist that he's supporting or writing music for. That's it. I'm done.
All right. So, Nelly J, you want to go to That's Absurd?
That's absurd. Faheem, bro. What was absurd this week? What was absurd?
Canadian national team player. He was racially abused online. We'll get into how absurd that actually is and the reason why that's so absurd. But Mark-Anthony Kaye, he was after the World Cup qualifying game. He was ejected early, and after he went online, and he was really getting it from fans, apparently Canadian fans online, that were racially abusing him for getting ejected and possibly costing Team Canada the game. And for that, those fans, it's absurd.
Absurd. Absolutely absurd.
Completely absurd.
And it's the thing about, and I'm so happy we're bringing this up again, because people, unfortunately, a lot of people don't know about the racial issue that we have in Canada. And I feel like, if we don't talk about it on Good Rookies, it will not be addressed on other platforms, right? But I have an issue that in Canada, if you're a person of color, if you're in a basketball team or a soccer team, we've seen countless of Black athletes get verbally or Twitter abused, and it's always about race and about what they look like, or it's just very racial. And it's like, as Canadians, we have to call those people out. And right now in America, like, if you're being racially offensive to a player, they find you, they tell your boss, and you would get fired. I feel like in Canada, we got to do something, because at this point, when will this stop? Like, I think it's an issue. I know we're only 5% Black, but you can't be praising our athletes for making it to the World Cup, but then if they do something that you don't like, you want to racially abuse them. Like, that's some BS. So I think it's so absurd. And I think we have to get names tied to these people so that they're going to put on notice. That's all. Go. Yeah, that's my thoughts on that.
Let me punch in here real quick. I think of this automatically brings me to Pascal Siakam in a bubble. He let people down, and he went to Twitter, and that happened. It also brings me back to when I was younger, Ben Johnson. When Ben Johnson, before he was Canadian, and then with the whole doping situation happened, and as soon as that, then the Canadian media, he was no longer Canadian, he was Jamaican.
Exactly.
So when I think of this situation here, and it's kind of ironic. I'm just looking at the team picture here. Of the 11 players, it looks like, I'm going to count them: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I've got 7 of the 11 are Black players.
Yeah, exactly. It's a majority is Black people. I don't know.
It's got to be historical right now that the Canadian national soccer program has never had so much Black people on it before, ever. And in the other 2, I think they would qualify for BIPOC. You know what I'm saying? So now we're talking about pretty much 10 out of 11 players are, BIPOC. And just the fact that it's really disheartening to know that there are people out there that, as long as for the country, or as long as you play for them, they'll back you. But as soon as something goes wrong
Let's
or
be
something.
perfect. So guess what? The Leafs have flopped how many years now? And I don't see one racial thing towards the Leafs. So y'all got to be better for this point, man. This is ridiculous.
Speak on it.
I wonder why. Let's speak on it. But Aaron, your thoughts on this absurdity, bro?
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say the same thing as Faheem with the Pascal stuff. I remember logging onto Twitter and seeing just certain things that I'd never thought that would come from Toronto, at least. Just because, not that I grew up in a not that I grew up in a place where race wasn't an issue or anything like that, but I guess because we're finally getting a lot more notoriety in terms of sports on a more consistent basis. Now we're seeing a lot more consistent racism, if that makes sense.
So to me, it's global.
Yeah, and so that just goes to show me that maybe as like the more success we bring to the city, the more true colors the city will show.
Yeah.
And that's an issue for me, because we should be able to be successful, but still understand that people are human beings, and we don't look at them as human beings in Toronto. We look at them as, what can you do for us, especially the Black players.
You're right, because I think you touch on this point where when they're playing well and doing well, we love them. But as soon as they make a mistake or they don't play, God, it's a sport, by the way, first of all. So why are we getting so gung-ho and abusive towards athletes because of a sport, right? Like they're not, number one. Number two is, as soon as they do not meet your expectations, you're quick to degrade them and call them. So to me, you only care about them. It kind of the whole slave mentality of, you got to help us be successful in Toronto. But if we stop doing that, we're going to abuse you. And it's not okay. Like, that kind of behavior is not good. And so I really hope like we expose these people. Like, at this point, I'm at a point where if you're racist towards an athlete, let's find out who you are and let's blast your name across the entire social media. This person, he works at this company, and his statement towards Pascal was this, or you know what I'm saying? So I think we got to call them out. Let's call their racist behind out.
100%.
Fully agree.
All right, we can land there. So Nelly, let's put this episode. Let's put this episode in the books.
That was episode 90.
90.
So, Aaron, you know the drill, brother. Please, your time to give your shout outs. So the floor is yours.
Oh man, shout outs. Well, shout out to I mean, it's Mother's Day weekend. So shout out to my mom. She's the greatest mother on earth. She is responsible for who I am today, and just a lot of the outlook that I have on just life and music, and even my faith in God and stuff like that. So big shout out to my mom, Wendy Hutchinson, and just pretty much all the other mothers out there that are making this thing happen. It's been a rough past 2 years and everything like that, and it still seems like the mothers are being positive and keeping the juice in society going. So shout out to the moms.
Nice.
Love it. Well, my shout out is to you, first of all. Big up to you, Aaron. Keep pushing, keep doing what you've been doing. And I want to shout out to all the athletes that are mothers. I just think it's so hard to be a mom to work, but to be a female, a woman athlete in today's society and be a parent, Lord have mercy. Just my heart goes out to them. The WNBA is also premiering tonight as well. So big up to the WNBA. A big thing happened where a lot of the 5 out of 12 ladies that were drafted in the second round did not make the team. 10 out of 12 in the first round made the team, and 5 out of 12 made it. That means 7 women that were drafted in the second round of the WNBA did not make the roster. That's just how competitive, y'all, the WNBA is. So just shout out to all the ladies who made the roster. the ones who are now looking for jobs outside and got kids to feed, just big up to y'all, because being an athlete as a woman and being a mother, it's so hard and complicated and it's a lot. So I want to shout them all out today.
Wow. I didn't know that. So first, yeah, I'll go with the moms also. Mother's Day, right? Mother's Day weekend. Shout out to all the moms out there. Nelly J, I didn't know that. So you're saying that it's just an assumption that once you get drafted, you would be on a team. I've never heard of being drafted and still having to try out and not making a team.
Yeah, the WNBA. So the WNBA has 3 rounds, 12 picks each for each team, and 10 players out of 12 made it. 5 players out of 12 made it. That means 7 did not make it, and I think only 2 in the 3rd round that were drafted made it on a roster.
So this would be my question then. So why is it because I understand they don't have a lot of teams, right? So there's not a lot of positions. I get that. But why would they make so many rounds for, like,
so essentially at each team, so like, last year you have your team, right? And then this year you draft 3 players. So now everyone's competing for the spots, 3 additional plus the other 7. Remember, some ladies retire, some ladies get pregnant, some don't come back, some are suspended, some can't play, whatever, right? So 3, so it's a tryout. It's a tryout. Wow. But remember, in the NBA, we got the G League. So players are able to at least get drafted. So there
should be a G League in the WNBA then?
Well, the question, the issue is their salary cap is very low. I think in the WNBA, you can only have, I think, a 2 or something like that million as a salary cap. So unless they increase, to your point, a salary cap to say we can draft 3 and those 3 get at least an automatic roster spot for the first year, and then by year 2 they have to compete. Like I think that we have to give someone a chance. Like I don't know how they're going to do it. I'm just saying that it's competitive to make it. So the girls who made it, of course, are the best crop of the crop. But there's some ladies that are really good, but this will make it because the team they tried out for couldn't use them.
So here's what needs to happen. I think there needs to be a place. Speaking of what Aaron's saying, there needs to be a place where women can play if they're not going to play in the WNBA. And I would probably think, why wouldn't another country, like say for instance Canada, why not, instead of us talking about us getting a team for the WNBA, why don't we start a league?
That, Faheem, so funny. I fully said this earlier today. I was on Clubhouse, big up to Ran's room today, and I fully said, at this point, why not just have a second women's basketball league? Because there's so much talent that doesn't make it in the first, that don't make it to WNBA. Why not have a league in Canada? Faheem, we're aligned, bro. I have the same sentiments, and I think it should happen. NBL,
Definitely.
CBL, figure it out, y'all. It's the summer league, something. Let's do something, man. Cha.
All right, and my last shout out is to Aaron Manswell. You're definitely, like Nelly J was saying earlier, you're a trailblazer. I really respect the fact that you're taking a path less traveled and doing it with grace and style. I mean, there's really something about being a composer that just, it has a, it's something, has a like a panache, something about it. You know what I'm saying?
It's like Manswell, Aaron Manswell.
yeah. Definitely. And I do think that it's not a lane that people go down. And I think knowing that you're going down this, or you definitely can inspire someone else to say, hey, you know what? Maybe I can do it also. I totally think so. So definitely. So big up. Yeah, definitely big up and shout out to you.
Thank you.
And on that note, Nelly J, I think let's put this episode in the books.
That was episode 90. So if you had a good time, you enjoyed yourself, please like, subscribe, and tell a friend to tell a friend. Faheem.
Yeah, we're on all platforms. If you're looking for us, That's Good Rookies Podcast, episode 90. Aaron Manswell, we appreciate you coming out, man. And we out.
Thank you guys for having me.
Peace. Awesome. That was great, guys.